then your father gets creeped out, right? He thinks that he's marked.
Well, I'm going to tell you how.
Okay, go ahead, please.
There is a reason why the FBI actually came to my father's house. They said that they intercepted a call. They gave him his card. They said, hey, we're from FBI, and we have, by law, we have the right to inform you that there's a hit out on your life. Wow. Now, why would that happen? I have no idea. Because when I came home that day, my father said, and he showed me the card, put it on. I said, what's this, Dad? He said, they came to the house. I said, now I'm thinking, they're going to arrest him. They're giving him a chance to either come in or whatever. He said, they said that we intercepted a phone call saying that we got to get rid of JB. That was one of my father's nicknames. So my father's, they said, if you want to come in and talk to us, naturally, and how they tell you, all of a sudden now they're your friend. They've been following you all this time, trying to get dirt on you, but now they like you. Yeah. You know, they want to save your life.
Yeah, here's a tip.
Exactly.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So they says, if you want to come in and talk to us, so my father looked at the car and said, no, I'm okay, thank you. And shut the door. Just that alone, having FBI agents, if somebody would have saw it or something, they would have said, what happened? Yeah. Now, my father would have had to explain it. And don't get me wrong, they probably would have believed my father that he was not going to cooperate. But now they have what's going on here now? Of
course.
Because they don't like loose ends, like anything else, you know.
It's the whole Jimmy Burke thing after the Lufthansa heist. He started killing everybody because he's like, hey, we like the guy, but we can't risk it.
Yeah, you know. And,
so they just started taking everybody out linked to it.
But don't forget, too, Jimmy Burke was a little greedy, too.
Sure, no, of course.
He wanted all the money for himself. You know, he was a killer, too.
So who was that call that the FBI intercepted? Obviously, they had a wiretap on somebody. Was that the underboss of the Genovese?
I'm not sure who it was because we never found out. The FBI never told me when I started working for them.
How is that they couldn't tell you, at least reveal who wanted your father killed? That's so crazy to me.
You see, John, this is some of the dilemmas I had when I wanted to find out about who killed my father, because there's another flaw in there. They told me 3 men went under my last name, Barone, and to visit my father in Honduras. I never knew this. So I said, you mean to tell me the video cameras are not working in the airport? You can't see who they were? Like, just go back for video footage, you know, the plane flight and everything. Who were they? He said, you didn't know who they were? I didn't. So now they tell me, okay, and he never took them back to his villa. He always used to meet them in the mall. So I said, okay. Now he took them back to the villa. So they went to go arrest him. They said that's when they found him dead on the floor. So I said, okay, well, who are they? They never told me. And then I said to myself later on, after all these 18 years I worked with the FBI trying to find out who killed my father, you mean to tell me not one rat, somebody who got arrested who wanted to talk, nobody ever said anything about hey, we know who killed that guy, Joe Barone, or we know what happened, or nobody, you guys never asked anybody?
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
Suspicious.
It's very suspicious now. It makes me think, did the wise guys really did kill my father or not? I don't know. Because don't forget, Vinny Pasuti, who I think I showed you, I think I sent you a picture of him. He was how can I say, because was at my trial. He's like a psychological profiler type of guy, like, or whatever. He knew what would trigger me off, or at least hoped it would. And so when he told me that right away, the first thing you do, you get angry. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You get mad.
Yeah. Did they ever did they ever get anybody on the murder of Vic, this rat that your father helped kill? So, okay. So that's remained cold.
Yes.
So somehow maybe this hit on him may have had nothing to do with the bosses talking about killing your father. It could have been from something else.
Right.
So you really have no idea beyond just that, hey, we heard that they're trying to take JB out.
My father told me some things. He's not going to tell me everything about his life. You know, he just wasn't going to do it. Okay.
So how long after that tip and the murder of this rat did your father go on the run?
It was, let's see. I'll try to be as accurate as I can be, but it is a long time ago. So figure it was about maybe a couple of months after the murder.
Okay.
And then he came to me. I had to go to the safety deposit box. I had to get him $70,000, which I did. I gave him the cash. And he says, look, I don't know when I'm going to be back. He says, I said, but Dad, why you even got to go? He said, well, sometimes it's easier to put people's mind at ease if I'm not around. So now why would he even think like that?
Right.
You know
Do you think your dad was ratting?
No, because why would he go? You know what I'm saying? He did time before. And he told me this. Well, this is the reason why I don't think he's ratting. One, because I know my father. Two, he said, if they come to where I'm going, there's going to be a shootout at the OK Corral.
Yeah, right.
That's exactly what he said, his exact words.
Right.
So that's why I knew that he would rather die before going back to jail. And he didn't really have much of a long life because he died, he was 54 years old. And, I'm sorry. And he had a bad heart. Matter of fact, he was trying to get back into the United States to get a triple bypass done.
Okay.
So that was the whole thing there.
I mean, and why Honduras? I mean, Italians can barely pronounce it. You could call it Honduras. My Aunt Doris.
Yeah. My Aunt Doris, Honduras. Yeah. The Barone.
This is my wife,
yeah.
Honduras.
Yeah.
Now, why? Do you have any idea why he chose that, or did he have connections there?
It was another wise guy staying there.
Who was also on the run?
I think so, yeah.
Wow.
I don't know who he was, but that's who he got the connection with. And then my father actually had to pay the officials, because one thing the FBI said was, they said, look, we tried to arrest him one time before, but the officials alerted him that we were coming down, and he went from one villa to another. And I know that's true because I went to go call him on the number he gave me. I used to go to the phone booths with a bag of quarters.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny, but that was true. But I didn't tell them that.
Yeah.
They didn't know that I knew that what they were saying was right.
Right. Was he active down there? Like, was he still giving orders and getting money?
No.
No, he lost all his control?
I wish I would have showed you a picture of what he looked like. He was sick.
Yeah,
he was sick.
Okay.
He was smoking a lot of cigarettes, supposedly, and he was sick. And that's what makes me think, like, what really happened? Was it really the wise guys that killed him? Did he really die of natural causes? Because they did an autopsy on him down there. Now, they had a V shape. In his chest. So I went to my uncle Pat. He's really my cousin, but I call him uncle out of respect because he's obviously older than me. So I went there and he said, I said, what happened, Uncle Pat? Do you know anything? See, that's a man I could have asked the direct question to.
Yeah.
And he was supposed to be straightened out a long time ago too. And he said to me, they did that to hide the stab wounds.
Okay, hang on, because I want to make sure people get this. So not long after your father went on the run in Honduras.
Correct.
He was killed. He was found dead.
Yes.
How long after he left New York did that happen?
At least a year. Easily a year. At least a year, because I had gotten arrested in 91, I believe it was.
Okay.
So he was going in 90, so it was at least about a year.
Before you got pinched?
Yes.
Okay. So they found him stabbed. Well, this is the part that we'll never know. This is the mystery. They found him dead.
Right. But that was the Honduras officials that found him dead.
Right, which you can't trust.
I can't trust. Yeah. Then they said they did an autopsy. The FBI told me that they wanted to do another autopsy because they didn't trust them either. So when I was in prison and they called me, I didn't know I was going to see the FBI. Mm-hmm. Actually, Vic Matoro, Vic from the boss of the Lucchese crime family, told me that they were going to see me. I don't know how he knew. He knew that they were going to interview me. He actually told me what to say. Oh. Vic and I were pretty close then, too. He was a good guy, Vic, but he was a stone cold killer, too. I don't know how many bodies he got. He said, listen, you tell them, you sit there, you listen, you be quiet. He says, and at the end, you tell him, listen, I love to help you, but I'm not even in a position to help myself. That's the kind of man he is. Wow. And he's still doing his time. Wow. He's got, I don't know how many lives. Wow. Yeah, he could die and come back. One of the few. Yeah, exactly. Right. One of the few.
So they told you go get summoned by the FBI, and what did they tell you in that meeting?
So I go into there, the marshals bring me to the hallway. I go there and they go in there and I see Vinny there. I see one of the other guys that was arrested me when I got pinched. I see the Benjamin Rosenberg, who was the AUSA at the time, and my attorney. And I was like, what's going on? So I said, can I have a minute with my attorney? So I said, Ben, what happened? I said, I'm not, He said, Joe, They called me last night, told me you got to be here this morning. So I says, okay, what am I supposed to do? I was paying him money back then. I was paying him like $60,000 I gave him. And so he said, look, you got nothing to do. This is what they got to say. So I did. Well, when they came in, he called them back in, and they started talking to me. Hey, Joe, this life, what do you think? All the bullshit. I kind of talk a little bit. And then all of a sudden they said, we want to show you something. I says, okay. So they put the handcuffs from my back to the front. It's okay. Now there's a stack of photos like this of my father. The cemetery, digging him up, and him on a slab. That was the first time I saw him in almost 2 years or better on a slab. So he had to cut like this, a V, and then going down to here. But they didn't do the autopsy. Little did I know that my uncle was there, my father's oldest brother, and he said, I don't want you to do the autopsy on him. They did give him permission to dig him up, but they wanted to see if it was my father. So I saw them. They had a picture of my father from one of his mug shots. They put it close to his face, but my father had decay already on his face. So,
and he had 3 stab wounds, right?
Just a V-neck. Like this, and then a long thing. So we don't know. They said that was the autopsy that they did in Honduras. And then that's what my Uncle Pat told me, that was to cover up the stab wounds. I don't know if that's true or not.
Now, what did Honduras say? What did the people down there say the cause of death was?
As much as I tried to get in touch with them, I never got an answer. I do have the death certificate from them. They said it was some sort of a drug overdose.
Okay, so it quite possibly could have been, or it could have been, possible. He could have, developed some kind of leukemia from being a smoker that developed really fast.
Could have died of a heart attack.
Right. Could have had a heart attack because he had a bad ticker. And it sounds like, because what you're describing is how they would cut you open
for an autopsy. That's right.
So, what led you to believe beyond that was actually a cover up for a mob hit?
Because it was hard to trust any of them. It's hard to trust the wise guys. It's hard to trust the FBI. But just hearing that my father was dead, I remember I was on the phone. I was in Otisville, New York. I was standing by the phone. I got the phone call, called up my grandmother, and then she told me he died. I didn't know it. That's how I found out. There was a skipper, Danny Ticchio from Staten Island was there, and he grabbed my shoulder, and he knew. I said he died, but I didn't know how. The priest called me in. They said, you're going to be okay, because usually they want to throw you in the box, think you're going to flip out. But it was when I went there, and it was like they knew a few things, the FBI, that they shouldn't have known. And that's how, like with the phone call, when I told you when he moved, and that he knew they were paying the officials. So I said, they knew something. My father was what they call a fixer too. My father had a lot of political connections as well as wise guy connections.
Really?
Yes. He was able.
Who were those?
Judges, police. And so my father, in some degree, not all of it, I'm not saying he was but he had he was to some degree a risk of, I guess because his political connections and the things he could fix, got me out of trouble almost all the time.
Right.
I think maybe the wise guys could be worried about that, especially since that note that they said they intercepted a phone call. They got to get rid of JB. See, so I put all this together in my mind thinking maybe they are right, because I didn't cooperate right then and there. I says, I'll talk to these later. I'll talk to my attorney.
But it seems kind of far-fetched to think that the mob went down all the way down there, stabbed him, and the feds didn't know anything about it, and nobody on the street in New York knew anything about it. I mean,
You're right, John. I asked another wise guy, somebody I could talk to that was close to my father. I won't say his name either. I don't want to get him in trouble. And he said the same thing to me. Why would we go all the way down there to get him? But then Patty Boy Felsetti, who was actually Petey Fat's brother, the one I was telling you about, he's a big boss in the Genovese family now too. Matter of fact, in my second bid, he sent me a message. He said, say hello to Joe for me, because now he knew I was cooperating. That means say hello to Joe means, you. But anyway, I was going to go on a date with this girl. This girl went to his house because she was good friends with his wife. So she said, do you know this guy, Joe Barone? And he says, well, is his father Joe Barone? And so she said, yeah. He says to her, what a shame what happened to his father, what they did to his father. Now, this is a big shot.
Mm-hmm.
He was I think he's a captain now or whatever he is, or maybe even bigger than a captain. Why would he say something like that?
Mm.
Okay, so now you see all these things.
Now you got the paranoia and the
you just don't know.
Yeah.
But you want to know something, John? Somebody knows. Who, I don't know. But I'm probably never going to know.
But that's a big decision to then decide to give your life to the FBI for, the next 2 decades.
That's correct.
Based off of something that you aren't even for sure happened.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a regret there now? Do you say,
Of
man,
course.
I should have maybe got more information before I decided to throw it all away?
When I was in prison, I was alone, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
I was, the wise guys don't come and help you. They don't really talk to you except for Vicamuso and stuff like that. They talk to you, but you're a low-level guy to these guys really still.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I didn't know how to go about. Look, I don't have really that great resources. I'm not the smartest hack in the book. Do I have a few skills here and there? Yeah. But I felt like at that time I had no other choice but to that was the only way I could find out about who really killed my father, because I figured now I got the FBI actually working with me to find out who killed my dad. Right. Because when I went to go sign the papers that I'm going to cooperate with them, that's what I told them I wanted to do. I says, listen, I want to find out. You think we're going to find out who killed my father? He says, eventually, yes.
And were you then going to try to go kill that person if they were still alive? Was that like the plan deep down, or was that just like closure?
It was the back of my mind. I'll say that.
Right. Or you help convict them, whatever it is. It's one of the three. They either get killed, go to prison, when somebody else kills them.
When you do certain things in life at certain areas in your life, certain times in your life, what's the first thing you say? Well, it seemed like a good idea at the time. Mm-hmm. So I would have waited to see what would have happened at that time, and that was it. And then I would make that decision then.
And what kind of, so you didn't decide to cooperate to get out of the bid you were facing, right? Because you were looking at only a couple of years.
They said it, I was looking at 10 years.
Okay? What was the charge, by the way?
It was extortion and gun possession.
Okay. What were the details involving that?
The guns had the serial numbers filed off. That's a federal crime.
Who were you shaking down?
I was robbing drug dealers at one time for a while until my friend got shot robbing him he went by himself. He went and got shot in the back.
Wow, this is serious business. This is what you were doing?
Yeah.
So what was the extortion part?
The extortion part was this guy that he owed me money, like 30 grand. And I was trying to shake him down for where's my money. We put a telephone cord around his neck. My friend was choking with him. My other friend put the gun to his head and that kind of thing. And then I actually seen him at the Thomas C. Bible Funeral Home in the Bronx under the L on Washington Square. It's an old neighborhood. It's not even there anymore. And I seen him driving, and he was like 6'4", 500 pounds, big dude, not in shape. Big dude. So the girl I was with, I says, pull over. So I put my SAP gloves on. I got out. I says, hey, Eddie. I says, where's my money? Bing, boom, bomb. I knocked him to the ground, and I had the recording of it, but it got erased because I tried to clear up the rain. It was raining. And the FBI was right there because he was wearing a wire. He was supposed to be meeting his own brother, one of my co-defendants, Dennis. He was going to wear a wire on his own brother.
Wow.
Yep.
So that's how you got roped in.
Yes.
I see.
And I left an answering machine message because I was stupid. And I says, listen, I tried to call you. I tried to get in touch with you. If I don't get my money by tomorrow, you're both going to get it. That's exactly what I said.
Okay. So you're facing some time.
Yeah.
But not life. There's no murders. There's no, big time drug dealing.
The legal aid lady was trying to get me, Susan Brody. Nice. She says, she says, Joe, I'm going to see if I can get him down to 3 years for you. I said, okay, I'll take the 3 years. No problem. So I wasn't scared of doing that. 3 years. I was already in for about almost a year.
Stand on your head doing that. So this is really about revenge for your father.
And that's all it was.
Okay. Got it. Now we transition into part 2.
Okay.
When you signed over, from what we understand, so we know just based off talking to people who've cooperated that the feds don't give you like a firm out date when you decide to cooperate. They don't say, hey, you're going to do 10 years for us. And then on November 25th, 1999, you're out.
Well, they just use you to what they think they get enough out of you. That's usually what it is. It's like, and I fed them some information about what was going on in the prison. I gave them some information about what was going on in the prison and stuff like that. Okay. So, because we also wanted to know about who killed Ralphie Capoli. He was the captain.
Mm-hmm.
So I was giving them information about what was going on in prison, some of the things. Like there was I talked about it on Dominic's podcast on, it was about Eddie Kavanaugh. He committed a double homicide. And there was a lot of law enforcement was involved with that. There was the DEA, FBI, Mamaroneck state troopers, because right where it was done, it was in the midst of everything.
So did they tell you this is what, did they give you a target, or did they just say, give us everything that you can dig up?
Yeah, sometimes they'll ask you, do you know so-and-so? Or, they'll say, did you never know what happened to, so I say, yeah, I know what happened to Ralphie. I think I know who killed him. And I told him that, and all those kind of things. So I didn't really try to offer more information that I could think of, but I pretty much answered a lot of their questions. They had a lot of questions. Okay.
So did you continue with that bid then? Did you actually go upstate after you had already been flipped?
Yeah. They gave me, I actually wound up getting 4 years. Okay. Which I should have, to be honest with you, with the information I gave them, I should have walked out. They should have said, time served. It was a little extortion guns, not the end of the world, but
it provides you a really good cover now, too.
Yes, it did.
You know what I mean? Because now you're going to do a full bid. It looks like you didn't take any kind of deal. You didn't flip. How many people were you actually turning guys in prison that you met and that confessed to crime? How did that go?
Yeah, well, when I said on Mafia Roundtable with Dominic, we talked about it with Eddie Kavanaugh. I told him the FBI would happen with him, and he wound up flipping. And I think he brought a lot of guys down too, because he was don't forget, he was facing the death penalty, because any drug-related homicide is automatic death penalty.